We're talking today with Wallace Pearson of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Now, I would like you to start at the beginning. So where and when were you born?
I was born in Grand Rapids, March 25th, 1926.
All right. And did you grow up in Grand Rapids?
Yes.
Okay. And what was your family doing for a living then?
My father was a tool and die maker.
Okay. And did he keep his job in the Depression?
Yes.
Okay. So you were a little better off maybe than some people were?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And do you remember how you heard about Pearl Harbor?
How I remember Pearl Harbor was in boot camp in Chicago.
Well, Pearl Harbor was 1941, and you would have been 15 years old.
Yeah.
So how did you hear about the news of Pearl Harbor?
Through my family, father.
Okay. And did you hear it on the radio or someone else tell you about it?
No, someone else told me.
Okay. All right. And then, so you're only still, when Pearl Harbor happens, you're only 15. So you're not going into the service yet.
No.
All right. Now, at that point, did you pay attention to the news from the war and what was happening? So while you were still in
Not
school?
really. We weren't old enough.
Okay. All right. And then, did you finish high school?
Yes.
When did you graduate?
1944.
Okay. And then what did you do after you graduated?
Just lived with the family.
Okay. But if you graduate in 44, it's not very long before you go into the service.
Yes.
Okay, so now talk.
Actually, I joined the Navy before I graduated.
Okay. And why did you pick the Navy?
I didn't want to be in a foxhole.
Very good. All right. And I don't know, had you ever done any sailing or boating before that?
No.
Okay. All right. And so you joined the Navy, and it looks like you did that in June of 1944. So you actually start training then.
Yes.
But how much earlier had you signed
I finished graduating from high school before I went to boot camp.
Right, right. So when did you first sign up?
1944.
Okay. So, but before you graduated?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So, and where do you go for boot camp?
Chicago.
Okay, so Great Lakes Naval Station?
Yeah, Great Lakes.
Okay. And what was the training there like?
Military.
Okay. And, most people today don't go in the military. They don't even know what that means. So what did they make you do every day?
What do we do every day? We marched. We did some gun training and so forth.
Okay. And did you learn anything about the Navy?
Yes. I just wanted to be in the foxhole.
Right.
So that's why.
Okay. But were they teaching you things like the language they use in the Navy? The difference between their terms and the Army terms, or the bathroom is the head, or stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. And then how much emphasis was there on discipline?
How much what?
How much emphasis was there on discipline, following orders?
Whatever was said to do, we did it.
Okay. And what happened if you did it wrong?
What is the brig?
Okay. And what's the brig?
It's like a police station.
Yeah, or a jail cell or whatever. Yeah, okay. But that's probably if you did something really bad.
You went to the brig.
You went to the brig. If it wasn't so bad, but you did it wrong, did they have other ways of disciplining you?
I was not aware of it.
Okay. Now, did you stay out of trouble?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Now, while you were in boot camp, did they ever take you out on a ship?
No.
You just stayed there at Great Lakes? Okay. And do you remember how long the boot camp was?
about a month, I guess.
Okay, so pretty short. All right. Now, when you joined the Navy, were you able to pick what kind of job you would get?
No.
Okay. All right. And then when did you find out what kind of job you would get?
We actually took a train down I can't remember the town, to Savannah, Mississippi.
Okay. And then, now was that to go training, or did you go all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico?
Gun training.
Okay. Okay. So you're trained in gunnery at that
Yeah.
point. Okay. All right. And what kind of guns did you learn to fire?
3-inch 50, 5-inch. 3-inch 50 was, I lost my hearing.
Okay.
And 3-inch 50 was sharp.
Mhm.
They didn't furnish us with any earplugs.
Right. Okay.
And then they had a 5-inch on the stern of the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the Richter ships.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, did you also train on 40 millimeters or 20 millimeters or machine guns?
20 minutes.
Okay. All right. And about how long do you think you spent in the gunnery training?
About a month.
Okay. Now, for that, did they have you firing at moving targets or just at stationary targets?
They had an airplane pulling a target.
Okay, it's like a big sheet or a big banner or
We
something.
got a call back from the pilot. Hey, you almost hit me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were using live ammunition for that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then when you finished that training, what happened next?
I was assigned to the Armed Guard,
Okay.
and the training was down in Mississippi, on gunnery and so forth.
Okay. And all right. So the Armed Guard, those were Navy personnel,
Yes.
and you served on merchant ships?
We saved on Richter ships and a tanker.
Right. Yeah. But basically,
They got all the money and we got all the headaches.
that's right. Because they were civilian ships. They had merchant marine crewmen on them.
Yes,
But the merchant marine was separate from the Navy.
yes,
But the Navy provided the armed guards.
that's correct.
So that's what you are when you
Yes.
start. Okay. Now, you noticed in your record, you get assigned to a ship that was called the SS Paulus Hook.
We were assigned to R.C. Moore, which is a Victory ship that
Okay.
sailed in convoys
All right.
across the Atlantic.
All right. So that's your first ship.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll tell you a cute little story. We sailed convoys, and a British DE came alongside and says, "Captain, sir," and I said, "He's in bed." Well, he said, "You better get him out of bed. You're 2 miles behind position, and we have the sound of the sub, enemy sub." By the time we got stopped, we were leading the convoy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now you said a DE. Would that be a destroyer escort? The British DE.
Destroyer.
Yeah, destroyer escort, I think,
Yeah.
if it's a DE. It's
Escort.
a little bit smaller than a big
Yeah.
destroyer. Yeah. Okay. All right. But one of the convoy escorts there. Now, what do you remember about that first trip? Was the weather good or bad?
It was pretty good.
Okay. And were a lot...
That story I just told you
Yeah.
was the first trip.
Yeah, okay. Now, were there a lot of men on that ship who were making their first voyage, or just a few of you?
Just a few.
Okay. And did you get seasick?
Every day.
Okay. All right.
if the Lake Michigan is rough, I get seasick.
Mm-hmm. All right. And now, did that stay true the whole time you were in the service?
Yes.
You just got sick the whole time?
Never got over it.
Okay. But you must have been able to keep something down because you didn't, starve.
Yeah.
Okay, but it still was still bad for you.
Right.
Okay. All right. Aside from that one U-boat scare, did anything else much happen on that first trip?
No.
Okay.
Only what I
All
was
right.
told.
Right. And so, do you remember where you landed?
In British Isles.
Okay, so you went to Britain. So you didn't go to. Okay.
Yes.
But this would have been after D-Day.
That's
So we were in France, but you were still going to Britain. Okay, and unloading there. Now, did you get to go ashore then?
Did I what?
Did you go ashore when you got there?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that like?
It was different. The trains were a century behind us.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good experience.
Okay.
Really.
Well, so did you travel around a little or just stay in the port where you landed?
No.
Okay, stay there. All right.
Yes.
Now, was this a port that had been bombed? Was there bomb damage in the port where you went?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you remember if it was, Plymouth or Liverpool or Southampton or?
It was some of the other towns.
Okay. Some of them went all the way to Scotland. They went to Glasgow. You could go to Cardiff. You could go, Plymouth, Southampton. Liverpool.
Yeah.
One of those. Anyway, but so that's your first trip. Now, was that in the fall of '44 that you did that, or in the winter?
Yes.
Do you remember about what month that was?
Oh, that I don't remember
Okay.
what month it was.
All right. And then you sailed back to the United States.
Yeah.
Okay. And where?
We took the channel to the Belgium,
Okay.
and the British up to wait till the last ship went by and then they torpedoed them.
Hmm.
That was a good experience.
Okay. All right. So you got into the English Channel?
I'm sorry.
Did you sail into the English Channel, or were you west of Britain?
Yeah.
Okay, west. Okay. All right. All right. So anyway, and then you sail back to the U.S.
Yes.
Okay. And then where did you land there?
In New York.
Okay. And then,
And went down the river by New York.
okay. And then, did you get to spend some time in New York and look around?
Yes.
Okay.
I was not a person to drink beer,
Okay.
so I either went to mostly movies,
Mm-hmm.
things like that
Okay.
in New York.
All right. And then, did they assign you after that to a different ship?
No.
Okay. So you get back on the same
Yes.
ship. And where do you go next? Do you go back across the Atlantic again?
Right.
Okay. And how many of those trips do you think you made?
Oh, probably 3.
Okay. And did you have any problems with the Germans on those trips?
We had one experience when we came back in. The signal ship was trying to tell us we were almost hitting the George Washington.
Bridge? Or...
It was a passenger ship.
Oh, okay.
I was stationed on the bridge at that time, and the guy on the bow said, "Get this thing stopped, we're almost hitting it."
Mm-hmm.
And we did.
So you had a collision?
The signal man that we had could not read the signal ship's message.
Oh,
We were almost hitting the George Washington passenger ship.
okay.
He was no longer with us the next trip.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was a a close call.
Yes.
You didn't actually hit it.
No, we did not.
Now, was that ship a lot bigger than yours?
It was a passenger ship.
Yeah.
A lot bigger than ours.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would not have been very good for you.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now, when you're going back and across to the Atlantic, do you only go to Britain?
Always went to Britain.
Okay. All right. And did you get to meet many of the people there when you got off?
No, not really.
Okay.
Went to movies and
Okay.
things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Because you wouldn't go to the pub if you weren't drinking beer, so you did that. Okay. Now, later on, you sail on other ships and you go to the Pacific, right?
We were assigned to the West Coast at
Right.
that time, and I was assigned to an LSD.
Okay. And now, what was riding on the LST like?
Strictly military.
Okay. Because now you're with a Navy ship.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in your record here, it indicates that you sailed on several different merchant ships before the LST.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but were all of those ones that went to England?
Yes.
Okay. So when you go to the Pacific, you're just on the LST.
One trip we went to France.
Okay. And did
Cherbourg.
you? Okay, you went to Cherbourg. Okay, so, and that was also a place that was smashed up pretty badly.
Right.
Right. But by then, they eventually got the docks working, so you could get in there. Now, could you still see wreckage there in the harbor when you got to Cherbourg?
No, we just kind of like a tourist.
Okay. All right. But there weren't any sunken ships in the harbor or anything like that. Okay. All right. And then, were there French civilians around there, or was it all military?
Mostly military.
Okay. All right. And then you mentioned you had been on a tanker.
Yes.
Now, did the tanker make one crossings?
Well, the tanker did not sail in convoys.
Okay.
It was about 25 knot
Okay.
speed, and it went by itself.
All right. But did you sail that across the Atlantic?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm not sure I've ever heard that before. I guess there were some fast tankers, but 25 knots, that would be good enough.
Yeah. They didn't sail the convoys at all. They were by themselves.
Okay. All right. When you were sailing with...
And if anybody smoked on deck, you shot them.
Yeah.
We had airplane type gasoline,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very contagious.
Right. Okay. Now, when you were sailing in the convoys, did you ever see any aircraft flying?
No.
Okay. So we had some aircraft carriers we sent with them, but you might not see the planes. Okay. All right. So then you go over to the LST, and do you remember what kind of cargo you would load on an LST?
Well, that was strictly military.
Right. But do you think you were was it just crates of supplies?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And
We sailed to the Hawaiian Islands, and we went between the islands,
mm-hmm.
getting medicine and food and things for the different civilians
Okay.
on the islands in Hawaii.
All right. So you were saying around just within.
That was pleasant
Mm-hmm.
area.
Yeah. Yeah. And the people were friendly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you actually got to go in and see.
I made one trip to Cuba,
Okay.
and I got acquainted with a 16-year-old, me by, and he got a stalk of bananas for like $1.
Mm-hmm.
I got one banana, I hung it on the deck, and I got one banana.
And the rest of the crew just took the other ones?
Yeah. When it got ripe, somebody would pick it off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
But Cuba was very different. They had loaded the ship with sugar one trip. The other would go up the deck and with a sack, with a 50-pound sack on his back, and he just flick his shoulder and would land in our cargo hatch.
Mm-hmm. All right. And you got to go ashore in Cuba?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you just kind of, do you know if you were in Havana or someplace else?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I don't know, did you kind of just look around and look at the buildings or that kind of thing? Now, when you went to these foreign countries, did you eat in their restaurants?
Occasionally.
Okay. And did you do that in Cuba?
Yes.
Okay. And did you like it?
It was different.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But the 16-year-old was very friendly, and he took me to his home, and it was all fenced in.
Mm-hmm.
It was different.
Okay. All right. Now, fenced in, I mean, was his family fairly well-to-do, do you think, or they just had a fence?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, you said in the Pacific you went to Hawaii, and you sailed around the different islands in Hawaii, delivering supplies. Okay. Did you go anywhere else in the Pacific?
No.
Okay.
I got as far west as the Johnson Island,
Okay.
and that's it's an airplane stop for the B-25 before they went to Japan.
Right. Or the B-29s,
Bob
maybe.
Japan.
Yeah. 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 And Johnston is just this little tiny bit of land in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's an airfield there. Okay.
They would almost touch the water, and they coasted to the opposite end of the island before they got stopped.
Right. Okay. Okay. Now, when you were in the Pacific, was there any danger from Japanese submarines or anything? No. Okay. And did your LST sail?
That was the tail end of the war.
Right. Right. And then after the war, because I guess because the war ends in August, September of 45, and you don't get discharged until June of 46. Right.
We had to take a troop ship, and we went by the desert, and there was airplanes as far as you could see, stored.
Right, like out in the Arizona desert or California, and if you see like you're taking a train across the country and
to Chicago.
Yeah. All right. Now,
In fact, I could have slept in the same bunk if I wanted with the second floor.
mm-hmm.
But I got discharged out of the same barracks that I was.
When you first enlisted, yeah. Okay. Now let's go back a little bit. Do you remember hearing about the atomic bomb?
The who?
The atomic bomb? When they dropped the bomb on Japan?
No.
No. But do you remember hearing about the end of the war?
Yes.
Okay. And where were you when the war ended?
In Hawaii.
Okay, you're in Hawaii. All right. And was there a big celebration there?
Yeah, you might say.
Okay. All right. So after the war ended, did you just continue to sail around making deliveries then?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
We went to the different islands in Hawaii.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't go back to the States until it's about time to get discharged.
Right.
All right. Now.
We did some gunnery training in New Orleans.
Okay.
Before the end of the war.
All right.
I can remember the airplane was carrying a target and the radio down, hey, you're almost hitting me.
Right, right. Yeah. And that would have been back earlier in your tour there. I think you mentioned that part. Yeah.
Right.
You did that. Okay. What do you think was the scariest moment in your time in the service?
On that trip, convoy with the British destroyer
Okay.
escort came beside.
Now, did you ever have to sail through a hurricane or a typhoon?
No,
Okay. Were there any really bad storms?
no.
Okay, at least not that. So you never really worried that you were going to sink?
Right.
Okay, well that's good. All right. Now, what was your official job on these shows? You were a gunner as an armed guard. When you were on the LST, were you still a gunner?
Well, I was ship fitter third class. I had my own shop.
Okay.
In the bow of the LSD.
Right. And what did you do there? What did you do in your shop?
Maintenance of the ship.
Okay. So were you just repairing things, or?
Well, like somebody would call up and the toilet isn't working.
Okay.
Things like that.
That sort of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Maintenance mostly.
All right. And now, did you have your own group of friends on these ships? Were there guys that you spent a lot of time with? Okay.
I had a guy working for me, and he set me up on the toilet one time, and I tore the toilet apart to find out what was the matter with it. And the older guy on the ship, he says, "Well, don't you know there's just a screw that you turn?"
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and I dreamed that the system. I said, "Don't you ever set me up like that again."
Mm-hmm.
I was only 19.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, who was your commander, or who was in charge of you? So, like on the LST, for instance, who did you answer
I'll
to?
tell you a cute little story. When we were on Pearl Harbor, we were ordered to take all the hatches off on an LST and put a plate in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got the first plate in, and I was only like 19, 20 years old, and I couldn't get through this, and the CEO came up and he says, "You having problems, son?" "Yeah." I said, "I can't get through it." "Well," he said, "I think you're cutting through the main strut of the ship
Mm-hmm.
with a cutting torch."
Oh.
And things like that.
Okay. All right. And then when you...
I was one of the fortunate ones. I had my own shop.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, when you were on the LST, what kind of food did you get? Did they have a galley on the LST that they would cook for you?
I guess military food, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't real delicious.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what about when you were on the merchant marine ships? Did those...
We had our own cook,
Oh.
and we had the cook on the merchant marines cooked over 200 chickens.
Mm-hmm.
The good stuff.
Okay.
Southern fried chicken.
All right. So they did a little better with the merchant marine than they did in the Navy. Yeah. Okay. That's a good side of it. Okay.
Yeah, they made all the money and we got all the headaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the merchant marine crewmen got paid better than you did? Okay. Now, do you remember if any of the merchant marine crew were foreigners? Were they people from other countries, or were they just other Americans?
All American.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, when you think back over your time here in the Navy, are there other particular memories you have or stories you have that you haven't told me about yet?
Not really.
Okay. All right. So when you come back to the States then in '46, and do you get discharged? Did you get sent back to Great Lakes?
We took a train to Chicago. And it was an area, as far as you could see, was parked airplanes.
Right. On the way. Okay. And so did you go back to Great Lakes to get discharged?
Yes.
Okay. And then how did you get home from there?
best way possible. My father came back.
Okay.
And picked me up.
All right. And then after you were out of the service, what did you do next?
I went to the University of Michigan.
Okay. And what did you study there?
Business.
Administration? Yeah. Okay. And then what kind of job did you get after the war?
I was the purchase director of American Seating.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right. And were there a lot of veterans working in American Seating?
Yeah, one of my suppliers had season tickets at the Red Wing,
Mm-hmm.
right next to the Red Wing.
Mm-hmm. Like by their bench? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And later, my son took his wife, he was just married, and that was his honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
And went to a Red Wing game and had his wife's name on the marquee.
Okay. All right. Now, so did you hold that job for a long time? Was that your career pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, when you think back on it, how do you think your time in the service affected you, or what did you learn from being there?
I don't know. The best thing happened, I had my own shop.
Mm-hmm.
I was like 19, 20 years
Right.
old, but I had an assistant
Mm-hmm.
that we took the maintenance of the ship.
Right. So you were a little bit more your own boss
Yeah.
than you would normally be on a Navy
Right.
ship. Yeah. Okay. All right. So do you think you learned anything about management or just getting along with people?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just being kind to.
Okay. That's a good thing too. All right then. I think that covers the story then. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Appreciate it. You told me to talk.
Okay.